Hi, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the New Day with Natalie podcast. I am your host, Natalie Louise. In this episode, we are going to be talking about the avoidant ick. All right. So we'll talk about why they pull away when you start to show them love. So the reason why avoidantly attached people will start to just pull away from the relationship, and it could feel like you're talking to a wall when you're having conversations or when you're having intimate moments. It's like they're not even there compared to the version of them from the start of the relationship. And the reason why that happens is because avoidantly attached people fear intimacy. It's that simple, okay? Intimacy, emotions, vulnerability, anything that will make them feel like they have lost control and you could hurt them, or you could make them feel like shit or shameful, or just feel like they are a bad person or they are wrong. Any of those negative feelings, they do not want to set themselves up to feel that level of pain. So what they do is distance themselves. What they do is protect themselves. So when you start to get intimate, when when the relationship starts to get kind of cozy and you're cuddling and you're saying like, I love you, and you're just touching each other and it just feels really good to you. Well, your avoidantly attached partner is probably in a state of panic because they do not know how to find control over the situation. If you guys start to talk about the future, if you guys start to talk about forever, it can feel like they are trapped in this relationship, and no longer does it feel like this easygoing, fun to hang out with you type of relationship. No, it's now, I have signed the rest of my life away, and cuddling with you is ensuring that that is actually going to be my reality. What happens is your avoidant partner is triggered by your intimacy, by your love, by your vulnerability, okay? So when an avoidantly attached person is triggered, they tend to act in a variety of different ways. So one of the ways is they could get defensive. If you start, touching them, or if you start talking about the future, they could get all defensive and be like, well, what do you mean you want to get married? Or what do you mean? Like, I already talked to you about that before. I'm not really sure. Like, can we change the subject? Like, just change the subject and feel like they'll get defensive and make you feel like, why did I bring that up in the first place? Okay. Going off of that, they actually might just postpone the entire conversation. So if you're talking about getting married, if you're talking about something that's very serious in your relationship, should we move in together? Should we have kids? Should we get a dog, or whatever it is? That all those things make them feel like they're locked in. So changing the conversation will provide the avoidantly attached person with a level of safety, and it will help regulate the emotions they're feeling to then numb them. Because if you postpone the conversation, that means you don't have to feel a thing. We're postponing, and also it will probably never happen again. Let's say you have a conversation about the future, you're having a conversation about something that was a problem or a conflict that your partner's bringing up, and they wanted to just talk about it so you could work through it. Well, that could also trigger an avoidantly attached person, because when you have a fight, you have to be like, well, this is how I feel, and I think we should do this to fix the problem. So 1, you're being emotional by saying, I feel this way. 2, you're being vulnerable by saying, I think we should do this to fix the problem. And you're putting yourself on the line to maybe be rejected, maybe be attacked, maybe be misunderstood, whatever it is. And so they don't want to experience that at all. So what an avoidantly attached person could do is just fix the problem on the surface level, never go deeper. So if they're talking about like, oh, you forgot to take the trash out again today, and I took it out for you. Like, can you just remember to do it next time? Well, the avoidantly attached person might start to feel like, okay, yeah, I'll take the trash out next time. That's the surface level resolution to that problem. But maybe on a deeper level, the avoidantly attached person isn't taking the trash out because they don't like to be told what to do, because it makes them feel like they are not in control. It's like they have their own schedule. They know what they like to do and when they like to do it. But when their partner is telling them and bossing them around, it's like they don't like that dynamic. So they're not going on a deeper level. They're just fixing the surface level problem. Okay, again, that is to protect themselves, all right? Another trigger reaction that they could have is, like I said, when you guys get intimate, touching, kissing, having sex, talking about things that could be intimate, your avoidant partner could just shut down altogether. That's typically when you see like the glossy eyes, you're looking at a wall, but you're actually staring at your partner. It's like they're not there. and they're emotionally gone, okay? And then going off of that one, they could behave that way for a long period of time. And so, you could call it a funk, you could call it like this, era that they're in where they're just not really with it anymore, but hopefully they'll come back and act how they used to. But here's the thing, when avoidantly attached people distance themselves and they're in that funk, they don't even realize it themselves half the time. Like, they don't realize they're acting different. A lot of times to you, it can feel like your whole world is flipped upside down because they're acting totally different. But to your avoidant partner, it really doesn't move the needle. Like, they don't even know what you're talking about. What do you mean I'm acting different? What do you mean I'm acting distant? Like, what? So that's also them getting defensive. So sometimes when they get triggered, they stack a lot of these responses on top of each other, again, to protect themselves. If they don't do these things, then they will feel like they have this like invasion of privacy, invasion of space, invasion of control, and it just doesn't feel very good, okay? So that is typically when your avoidant partner will get the avoidant ick, all right? When you show intimacy, when you bring up conflict, when you talk about the future. Again, all these things are the basic foundation for any relationship. Like, you need to be able to talk about the future, solve conflict, and have a level of closeness that makes both partners feel happy. But with avoidantly attached people, it's a lot more challenging. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's definitely more challenging. Like, going off of that, avoidantly attached people, they do want love. They do want a stable, loving relationship. Like, they're not just with you to like screw you over. They are with you because they crave emotional connection. They want to find their person. They are just scared of all the other things that come with those very serious relationships. And it's more challenging to feel like, okay, this is my person, and we might have to be intimate. We might have to get serious and talk about conflict, but I can, push through. Sometimes that's more challenging for an avoidantly attached person, okay? So that's why they might pull away and get that avoidant ick. What exactly is the avoidant ick? Maybe we should talk about that. It's typically when the avoidantly attached person's partner starts to express deep love or commitment for the avoidantly attached person. This will immediately make the avoidantly attached person feel repulsed. It'll make them feel stuck. It'll make them feel trapped. And that is when they will want to find the nearest exit, the nearest escape, and just get out of the relationship, okay? Either emotionally or physically, just out. Again, it's not because when their partner expresses love or commitment, it's not because they're not in love with them. It's not because the love wasn't real in the past before they said those things that made them feel like they got the ick. No, it's because it's threatening the avoidantly attached person's autonomy. It's their way of life. When you guys are a unit, a team, all of a sudden everything that they once knew is out the door. They'll have to figure out how to function as a unit, as a team, and lean on people and be emotional and vulnerable and let other people see that part of them and still feel safe while finding a way to be in the relationship. And sometimes that's just too challenging for an avoidantly attached person, so they develop the ick and they use the ick as power or fuel to leave the relationship. Typically, when the avoidantly attached person starts to feel the avoidant ick, they will emotionally shut down. That's what you experience as the anxious when they just distance themselves. They can't be who they once were in the relationship, okay? They emotionally shut down from feeling invested in you. And so if you start to get hurt, if you break up with them, they don't feel as much as they once did at the start of the relationship because they've emotionally let go. They've uninvested. They've sold the stock. They're like, I don't know what to say. I'm not even invested in that stock anymore, so I don't feel anything, Obviously, if there were a ton of gains, then that's another story, but they numb all of their emotions so they feel nothing for you. And obviously, that can be extremely confusing for you because it's like one day, everything was picture perfect. It's like, I found my person. This is like a fairy tale, amazing. And then all of a sudden, the next day, you're dating a stranger. It's like they are not the same version of who they once were. Like, the way they talk, the way they text you, the way they like hold you, it's like none of it's the same. But you hold on because you don't want to be alone, The thing is, like, when avoidantly attached people do develop the ick, they do become very aware of the fact they need to leave the relationship, okay? So when you start to show them love and they pull away, what they are experiencing is just shame. They are feeling like why they start to say to themselves, like, why am I like this? Why do I keep getting into relationships that I can't handle and can't last? Like, this is an amazing person. This is like literally my soulmate, the person I should be with. But why can't I be in this relationship? It's like I need to get out. I don't feel good anymore in it. And when the relationship starts to disintegrate and potentially end, a lot of times the avoidant just reinforces their belief. Like, okay, this is who I am. I'm a lone wolf. Like, I'll just be single forever. And, you know, maybe I'll just never get love right. And that's just how it goes for me. That's like my fate. And so it's not, their reaction to you and their behavior to you when they get that avoidant ick is not to punish you. They're actually just processing their own negative experiences, and what they're going through is what they're projecting onto you. Does that make sense? So obviously, as the partner of someone that's acting that way, the anxious person, you know, it can feel like you still want to chase your partner. You want to chase the person that you once knew, not this new version that broke up with you. And so you try to stay connected. You watch, you know, their stories on social media. You text them every once in a while. Like, you just try to stay connected so that if there's, you know, no contact 100%, like, you might forget about each other. And that to you is scary because having the connection makes you feel like alive. It keeps the fire going. What you're seeking is potentially just something that's comfortable, something that makes you feel safe. But your avoidant ex is now wants to find something that is also comforting and also safe, which isn't being in a relationship with you. So it's like your goals don't align, but both of you feel safe outside of this relationship, except you're uneasy because you're not with them, and they are happy because they're not with you. So it's like one person is never exactly 100% satisfied in that dynamic. The ironic thing is when the anxious person finally lets go, that's typically when the avoidant feels 100% safe to return, to respond to those stories and those text messages and maybe plan a hangout, right? Right when the anxious stops chasing the avoidant starts missing the anxious because they don't feel their energy. They don't feel like, you know, they're on top of them and like hoping and praying that you guys get back together. No, they're just living their life and you're anxious and the anxious person's living their life. And so it makes the anxious person more attractive because the avoidant doesn't feel so much pressure to be there for this person, take care of this person, basically parent the anxious person. They don't want to do that. And so when the anxious is off living their own life and operating and taking care of themselves and their own happiness and satisfaction with life, that is a lot more attractive to an avoidantly attached person, okay? So that's typically when the anxious avoidant cycle starts again from the beginning, because if the avoidant reaches out to the anxious usually is too weak and vulnerable in that moment and will start to re-engage and start to date again, and the cycle begins. But unfortunately, it's a hot and cold cycle. It's hot, it's cold, it's a loop, it happens over and over, and it's addictive. So when your avoidant partner broke up with you, that's the cold, that's the low. And then when they return to you, that's the hot, that's the high, and it makes you feel alive. And then when they start to act weird again and pull away, you're down here. And so every time you've hit rock bottom, you know you will return to the top. It's just a matter of time. You have to be patient. You have to just wait. Like, this is what love is. You have to put work in. You have to just, you know, feel sometimes confused. You have to feel this pain. You have to feel this desire. Like, that's love. And if you don't feel that dating other people, then that's not love, right? So you basically train yourself just to wait for their return because they always usually return. And so that's why, that's another reason why it's so hard for you to let go. But just remember, every time they do return back to you, it essentially just erodes your self-worth a little bit more because you're taking back someone that doesn't treat you very well. And you're basically saying, these are my standards. You don't have to treat me amazingly. I will just take whatever. I'll take the scraps. Like, you can give me half-ass effort and I'll accept it. And so that definitely like dampens your own confidence, your own self-esteem. And that's why you feel like you have to be a people pleaser, because you're not confident about yourself that you can just choose anyone because you're so amazing on your own. No, it's like your avoidant ex almost broke you down so much that you feel like the only person out there that will love you is your ex who's toxic. So keep that in mind. Here's the thing. You deserve consistency, not confusion. So when your partner is consistent and shows you love all the time, that is warm and comforting and secure. When your partner is confusing and they're here and they're gone and they're hot and they're cold, and it's just so stressful, if that's how you describe your relationship, that is not a roller coaster or a relationship you want to go on. Okay, so let's end this podcast on a good positive note. I will say that if you are in this cycle, you can change. And if you are an avoidantly attached person and you feel like you've hurt people, if you feel like you are the problem, or you just don't want to be this way, just remember, your attachment style isn't forever, and you can always work to become more securely attached, okay? And the best way to do that is simply by doing inner work, understanding what your triggers are and why you behave the way you do, and learning how to communicate clearly with your partner. Now, those are just like a couple of quick pointers. I have a ton of other content on my YouTube channel where I talk about how to heal your avoidant attachment style as well as your anxious attachment style. But just remember, it's like anyone can heal and change their attachment style. It's just about turning inward and noticing when you want to run away and choosing to just be curious instead. If you guys would like to talk with me one-on-one and tell me about your story and your relationship, feel free to sign up for a one-on-one video call with me down below. We'll jump on a Zoom for about 30 minutes and you can share whatever you want with me and I'll give you some advice and guidance. I also have a book called How to Get Over Your Avoidant Ex and Become Securely Attached. That's perfect for anyone with an anxious attachment style that is really eager to become more secure and get out of this cycle. That is it for today's episode, you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.